Damn it. Okay. Me. Right back. I'm loading everyone back in here. Just one sec.
Oh, oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
sup?
Hey.
Hello,
Hey.
everyone. So what had
Dave,
happened?
so what happened was you got a phone call from David Petraeus and you had to leave.
Yeah, David
He got a phone
Petraeus.
call from Xi Jinping. He was like, I'm gonna stop bad mouthing Chinese politics. It's gonna be fair and true and tried election.
Dan was about to say free Tibet, so then the stream crashed.
Coincidentally, Dan bad mouths China internet surge.
There's a lot of number of different things on PowerPort that have just been said that could justify why all of
True.
my power went out.
Infowars finally, with their debt budget right now, we're able to do something about a power surge. Took a little bit though.
Dude, we're not even streaming. You know what? In a classic sort of power report kind of moment, shout out to Texas and Yasmin, who usually also has to deal with power outages and surges in the winter and the summer because of crap like this. But yeah,
Imagine
that's
still having Enron problems in 2022, broke problems, dude. Can't relate.
in.
Enron, baby.
Enron issues in
Dude,
2022.
and Enron surges now. I'm down.
Those were
Old
lit.
California days.
No, not now, dude. It's like 90 degrees, bro. Not now.
I'm down. Fuck it. Old Enron days. Hell yeah.
You don't care
Trade
'cause
the
you're, like, in the sky now or
trade the
something like
weather,
that.
baby. Trade the weather.
They're gonna create a new like political ideals for people that don't live on a ground anymore. That's Sean's people. They're just like sky flyers.
Hell yeah.
You know, like
Guess who's
avatars.
back again?
It's like Wally, the film.
No, it's like Avatar. What are they called? The wind people, whatever the hell they're called.
No, the Airbenders. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, Sean's now associated with airbenders. So they don't really associate with us ground type.
Nah, we got our own Sky Village. We got our own Sky people.
Oh my god.
Got my own Sky Bison too.
They are making good Avatar again, right?
Apparently, I don't fucking know when it'll be out, like anything, but
There's a live action Avatar, and it's gonna focus on the actual gang. That's gonna be great.
yeah. No, it's gonna be the OG stuff. Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
You know, I was
but
really
it's-
sad seeing CPAC happen and not seeing PowerPort over there acting like a fool.
right.
I said CPAC.
CPAC Texas.
So I wanted no, that was
Even though it looked a little rink-a-dink though. I was
That
looking
was
at it,
Turning
there was, like,
Point.
40 people in there.
That's a turning point. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Turning Point USA be fun. That'd be a good one.
Tomomundo. Yeah, Bam had to take a little bit of a break here, and I'm too lazy to switch cameras. I mean, I guess I could do it on the fast release, but like by the time I get the camera all situated and everything,
He's
Bam,
gonna come back.
absolutely.
I just want to take a picture of Charlie Kirk.
I think you're taller than him.
Good. I want to pick him up.
How tall is Charlie Kirk? What the fuck?
He's kind of tall,
Like
actually.
6'1" or something, 6'2".
He's pretty
That's
tall,
not.
honestly.
That's.
I mean,
That's not
90%
Caesar
of
height.
his 90% of his height is his head, dude.
It's true.
That's absolutely. Look at that.
Dude, the best. He's part of the best video of all time with the damn talking about the babies and showing the dolphin as a
Oh my god.
his
Yeah.
embryos. Like one of the greatest moments ever. Dude.
No, that's a dolphin.
Legendary. Oh, it looks like a baby. That's crazy because it's a dolphin. God, just got absolutely destroyed on your own show. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen on PowerPort.
Never. At the risk of accidentally showing the BAM's empty screen because I don't have the 3-panel set up, but we can get back into some of this ridiculous video from CNN. I mean, honestly, I think I want to go to
Donald Trump.
Nope, not that one. I think what I want to do is go to the video of the Pelosi stuff because actually seeing what Pelosi said there,
You said the Pope?
no, yeah, basically the same thing. Pelosi. But Pelosi had like a reaction to this, I want to say. That she was basically like oh, you're mad that I'm girl bossing, essentially. Like I'm just girl bossing too hard. Like
There's a part of me in a sick non the in a non I don't, something about me just kind of like I just had to put my hands up when you just went to Taiwan anyways and just pulled up and did it. I was like, damn dog, like all right. I mean, like, geez, way to just tell us all to shut the hell up and leave me alone. She really just said, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want. You're not gonna really do nothing about it, to be honest.
the funny thing is that like people in Taiwan didn't really know or oh bam, you're back. Nice. Let me put you back on. I know how to work my show. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. I had technical. Yeah, my power just like went out in my entire house. Like it went out and then came back on. So I was able to get stream back on pretty quickly though. That's good.
Yeah.
Too quickly.
Stupid.
Well, what were you saying, Dan? The people in Taiwan, what now?
People in Taiwan, when Nancy Pelosi was coming, they weren't like. There was like there's this video someone posted. I'm trying to figure out who they are, but yeah, they are the Bloomberg Taipei bureau chief. But they posted a video that I'll try to get on the screen here. Give me a moment. I have to get the sharing thing, that whole mechanism back up. But basically, the idea is that I don't think many of the people in Taiwan were excited for Nancy Pelosi. Like, oh, this is a big moment. Oh, we have Nancy Pelosi on our side. Like, this is great. Like, I think the people of Taiwan, much like people in America, know that Nancy Pelosi doesn't mean much for anything you're doing. But,
not at all. And there's also like, I think there is some fear in Taiwan that China could do to them what Russia is doing in Ukraine. And if that fear does exist, Nancy Pelosi going there in August is not going to help that.
yeah.
Like if China decides to do that, it's just going to happen, sadly.
This is apparently a video that of people in Taiwan who were awaiting Nancy Pelosi coming to visit, essentially. You had a lot of people with phones out.
That's very lame.
But like by a lot of people, it looks like, I don't know, a couple dozen.
Yeah, that's not really a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my thing. I think that what's really annoying is that this kind of like approach by Pelosi sucks a lot because you're like strengthening a position for Taiwan and what of course there's a lot of Taiwanese people who are indigenous to the land and don't want China's overrule and want to they want to do the thing. They don't want what happened to happen in Ukraine, but it sucks because like America's military general is talking about we're just gonna have a simple show of force come in and stuff like that. Like it sucks because it's only in the end of the day, no matter what happens to Taiwan, like the blowback goes back to just Taiwanese people at the end of the day. Like they're affected the most out of it. We're just once again dilly-dallying and touching, messing around and dipping our toes and everything. But at the end of the day, the people that get to really get affected by it the most are the Taiwanese people.
Mm-hmm.
And also the American political class is a slave to the defense industry. Like 100%.
Bars.
So even something like this, like you never know what the motivations are. Obviously, Taiwan
Money.
well, yeah, like
And influence.
you never like obviously Taiwan is an ally to the United States, and Taiwan is a lot different from China, like society wise, like very different. But yeah, like Pelosi going there is just like one of those, to me it looks like one of those classic things that happen to boost arms sales, like to create false tension, to create tension where there is none. Even Obama's pivot to Asia or whatever, like what is the pivot to Asia about? There's no fathomable world where the United States and China go to war. Like that, you can't fathom that. These are two countries that are so intertwined economically. Neither side is willing to like completely just destroy their society by saying we're going to go to war with each other. They're a bunch of men, so they will do some things to each other here and there. But a pivot to Asia by Obama was just, in my opinion, it's just something to have like some kind of scare for the arms industry. And then
it's similar to like Vietnam era too, before the Vietnam War, when he'd send diplomats and stuff there to rile up the defense industry as well in the 50s.
Yeah, and in those times it was mostly with the Soviet Union and stuff.
Exactly.
And now it's like China and Russia to an extent, but it's like, yeah, look, Pelosi went there. Now look what they're doing. Hey,
Yeah.
we gotta make some more missiles. We gotta make some more this and that. We need more sword, blade missiles.
Yeah, Bam. What I think what Bam's referencing is to either the most recent, extrajudicial killing the United States did of an Al Qaeda member, or the previous one. But like the drone, like it wasn't like the sort of like drone shoots out rockets or whatever, but it's like a drone that shoots out blades from the sky that like detract on impact or whatever. Like
no, not exactly that. It's a missile that has blades that it's like a food processor missile.
Yeah.
I
Slice it and dice it, baby.
I love that Bam has all of a sudden become a, actually it's not an assault rifle.
Hey. That's actually not a switch.
He doesn't want to have a power surge happen to him like happened to you, dog.
He's Bam has been really busy not being able to do these PowerPort live episodes. His new work at Northrop Grumman has been keeping him real busy, making sure he's, Yeah, I think you'd be a good defense contractor spokesperson, I think.
Also about Taiwan, we get a lot of downloads for We Made It podcast there. I don't know why, but
I have Taiwanese friends, by the way. Your boy has some friends, okay?
I had one, but going back to that, I do think
Members?
this is. I don't know what the motivations were. Like, I do agree with what Sean said. I don't know like what they said their motivations were, but it just feels like that typical, just American politics, arms industry handshake. Like, hey, do something so we can like make some stuff. We need some money here. Like, rile it up, scare some people. Make something scary happen.
Yeah. I want to play the clip of Nancy Pelosi responding to criticism for going to Taiwan and just really kind of like messing up with these relations here. Taiwan, did you like that?
That was funny. Taiwan's house.
Taiwan. And I really think that Nancy Pelosi gave us an insightful and substantive reason for why she is in Taiwan right now.
They made a big fuss because I'm speaker, I guess. I don't know if that was a reason or an excuse, because they didn't say anything when the men came. They made a...
Who's they? She's talking about China?
Yeah, it's, China, it's, people criticizing in America. It's, everyone in the world is sexist. So that's just the whole reason people are upset. People are just up in arms because it's just they're doing a sexism. It's a goddamn Bernie Sanders and those sexists.
That was weird. I mean, I don't really know what she's referencing there, but
yeah, I wish I had a little bit more context.
Who knows what she's thinking?
I don't know.
I mean, I do have the full clip here if you want to play it to get the context. It's 5 minutes long. We can kind of like try to skip and figure out what's the relevant part. You don't care?
Well, I guess we'd have to know like what politicians went to Taiwan before that she's talking about.
She referenced Congress people and senators who have gone in like other like contexts like that, but Like, it's people are upset with Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan not because she's a woman. People are upset with it because this is China. This is like another instance of America trying to assert itself as world police. Like, this is an issue on, like, this is a weird issue, but it's an issue within like the United States. Sorry, it's an issue within China and themselves, like, internally, so to speak. It's this ongoing battle between, is this country, like, what we're talking about, what we're considering, do we consider them to be China? Do we consider them to be part of, like, the one China policy that Xi Jinping is trying to push, where he's pushing even against Hong Kong's sovereignty, against China's rule? Because there are parts of China that don't like the way China runs, and they love to maintain that independence. Taiwan's an example, Hong Kong's an example, but this is like a case where it just didn't turn out that well. I want to see if I can pull up a clip really fast. Bam, go ahead and talk.
I feel like if you need to invade to figure out if it's the same country, then it's not. Like, if you need to actually kill people to make that happen, it is not your country. And the Taiwanese society is a lot different from Chinese society. Actually, Taiwan is one of the most, like, LGBTQ friendly countries in Asia. China is not. There are a lot of different things that are different in the culture of Taiwan and China. But either way, whoever goes to Taiwan, once you leave, if China says they're going to invade to say we own you now, there's nothing you can do. All you could the most you could do is like you're doing with Ukraine, send some weapons and say, good luck, I hope you can hold out for a while. But America's not going to come to the aid of Taiwan in a real, actual military fashion. So I don't know. But in the same token, I don't want China to invade Taiwan. I don't want to see that.
Nancy,
we've seen hot wars in that area of the world, like Japan, China, Japan, Korea, and they're brutal and bad. So, we don't want to see that.
Really fast, I want to play a clip from Emma, previous Power Report guest, on Majority Report this morning, kind of talking about this, because I think it kind of lays out really well. You get more of the Nancy Pelosi conversation, and then kind of more of, like, what I'm trying to get at here with, like, Nancy, and like, there's a point that, like, you're mentioning in Childology about how Newt Gingrich went in 1992. Nancy Pelosi went very early on in her congressional career as speaker, as kind of like a plank point in her political career. So this is like, there's many reasons you can say why Nancy Pelosi went. But there's still the question of, like, was it appropriate for her to do, given the fact that, like, there's a much larger geopolitical thing going on. We're going to mention Ukraine in a moment, but, like, China is not necessarily siding with the United States, not necessarily, shunning Russia, so to speak. They're not siding with Russia, but it's a difficult situation that it's sounding like even from behind the scenes, Joe Biden, the administration, did not want Nancy Pelosi to do this. But I want to play this a little bit from the Majority Report. I have it kind of sped up here just to kind of get to the point faster, but it's part of the Nancy Pelosi clip, and then it goes in for a little bit more.
But I think it's important to note that members of Congress, several of them have made trips just earlier this year. 5 senators, bipartisan, came, again, including the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, Mr. Menendez, came. Not too much of a fuss was made. Individual senators have made trips or plan to make trips. And I just hope that it's really clear that while China has stood in the way of Taiwan participating and going to certain meetings, that they understand that they will not stand in the way of people coming to Taiwan. As a show of friendship, of support, but also a source of learning about how we can work together better in collaboration. So, I think that they made a big fuss because I'm speaker, I guess. I don't know if that was a reason or an excuse, because they didn't say anything when the men came.
More female conflict escalators, right? I mean, I cannot believe that she took that tack, but naturally, I guess that's something she falls back on. Can we pull up this thread from this Harvard professor who's done actual work in this space? He spoke about why her visit to Taiwan was such a terrible idea. Do we have this? Here's William H. Overholt. Thread. Pelosi accomplished much in Taiwan. She stimulated cyber attacks, got thousands of businesses banned from exporting to China, shut down the important cross-strait communications tool Weibo, elicited mainland military exercises, and stimulated an imminent temporary blockade. Could scroll down. Long-run consequences are more important. She raised tensions at a time when tension is already excessive. She damaged Xi Jinping when he is ensuring his third term and is under attack for being weak on Taiwan. This forces him to take especially strong ongoing measures. She irritated allies who want support against China but fear U.S. provocation of China. From Australia to Japan, they resented not being consulted. And by the way, this is at the same time that the U.S. is doing its annual military exercise off the coast of China with other Asian countries. She made the U.S. look weak and divided by ignoring the advice of the most informed parts of the executive branch. Biden made that worse by insisting he couldn't influence her, and Blinken made it worse by appearing supportive after the fait accompli. She raised the baseline for future military signaling, which, to show seriousness, will now have to start with exercises completely surrounding Taiwan and likely blockading it. The added tensions will imperil vital efforts to get China to agree to guardrails that would limit the risks of accidents, misunderstanding, and unwanted escalation. What she didn't do was strengthen Taiwan or U.S. support for Taiwan in any way. Trump, Pompeo, and Biden already pushed that support to a point that jeopardized the 1979 understanding, which is the foundation of Taiwan's enjoyment of peace, prosperity, and democracy. Her visit was not just a rerun of Newt Gingrich's visit a generation earlier, which occurred during an entirely different relationship between the two countries. It was a political stunt that took a dangerous situation and made it more dangerous.
So I think that thread and like that kind of like breakdown gets to what I'm trying to get at, which is like there is a larger context that Nancy Pelosi, in a typical way, like this is how Nancy Pelosi operates domestically. There were COVID-19 lockdowns. People were losing their jobs. The economy was like tanking. People didn't know what was doing. Nancy Pelosi posted a video on social media with her freezer full of ice cream. All right, like people were protesting the George Floyd protest. Like people were engaged and enraged in a way they hadn't been before politically. Nancy Pelosi puts on some kente cloth and kneels on the Capitol and says, "We're here for you," and passes nothing. So like domestically, we know very well that Nancy Pelosi is just a tone-deaf politician. She's now taking that internationally to where, look, domestically, she ends up on Fox News. She's the Speaker of the House, so like we'll criticize her on shows like this, and she'll get criticized online. But she still has a lot of power. She's the top fundraiser in the Democratic Party. It doesn't matter. You leave America, you leave outside those borders, and as Brittany Griner unfortunately found out by getting that like 9-year sentence for accidentally having a small amount of cannabis oil on a trip to Russia to play sports there. When you leave America, the rules are different. So I'm really glad that we're starting to sort of look at this more in a holistic sense, because I think without more independent media, without things like PowerPort, you get a situation to where we'd all be paying attention to, oh, wow, look at what China is trying to provoke. Yes, China is being provocative. Let's understand that China's not like innocent here, because there are also a ton of people on the left who are going like, go China. we want China to be number one on the world stage, because that I don't understand why. Do they think like that'll bring about the left's interests? China does not care about the left's interests. So like I don't get on a lot of these tankies. But yeah. Well, what are some other thoughts in here?
I'm looking up this guy William H. Overholt, and I'm not really filling his credentials too much. This is a Rand Corp guy. This is a Hudson Institute guy. This is he started some stuff with Zbigniew Brzezinski, and it looks like he just makes a lot of money in China. Just looking over his stuff really fast, and some kind of investment banker. So I'm not really taking him too seriously, to be honest with you. But
that's fair.
I'm not hating on Emma for that, but I don't know if they happen to look up his credentials. The fact is, it's hard to like. America is going to act like the global police no matter what. There has been a lot of stuff talking about like China's role with Taiwan, and like is China going to invade Taiwan like Russia did Ukraine? I don't know if that's what China wants to do. I don't know if that's in China's interest. It will suck if it happens. But either way, Nancy Pelosi going there is not going to prevent that. And it's not, I agree that it's not necessarily showing support for Taiwan. Everybody knows America's Taiwan's ally and vice versa already. But it does boost the defense industry for sure. I know that's what it does. And Nancy Pelosi is in the pocket of the defense industry. So like that's what makes more sense to me. Or she's in their pocket or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If there were Sean or sees any other thoughts.
Not really, no. I mean, I agree with Bam where I don't, especially with like the defense industry thing, because it reminds me a lot of, other times in the history of the U.S. where we'd go visit a bunch, countries in Asia and stuff, and then just to rile up sales of arms and whatnot to fund whoever we wanted to for politicians' own pockets and whatnot. So that happens all the damn time. But yeah.
No, for sure. I think that we kind of said it earlier. I expressed that all the intentions of the U.S. and Nancy Pelosi are selfish intentions. They're not for the liberation of people of Taiwan. They're not for not even to appeasing to any kind of quote unquote separatists, whatever they're calling people. That I know they have a lot of strong language in terms of media and what they're using for people who are opposed to Chinese government rule and everything in Taiwan. I just think that there's intentions in there to cause problems, of course, drive up sales, and because with chaos and war comes money, and that's always number one agenda for the United States. The number one agenda is they're in the money-making business, not in the diplomacy business, not in the peace-making business. They're into making money, and it just sucks because, like Bam said, that especially comparatively to other Asian countries, they have a lot more open-minded viewpoints upon people, LGBTQ plus community, and etc. And I wouldn't want us to like just go in there and start causing something that's going to potentially ruin the lives and the futures of the Taiwanese people.
Yeah, I think that's well said. We'll do Ukraine in a little bit. I want to do the Democrats sabotaging themselves. One of my favorite things to talk about on Power Report because
favorite.
I get to talk to Bam about being right. One of my favorite things to do. So, there's two articles in the New York Times here that I'm gonna like kind of spotlight. Once I get them up here in a moment, because I think they tell a lot about how screwed we are. Not just because we have Republicans who are doing everything they can to try to just not just gain power, but hold power into power forever. But because we have Democrats who are going, why, yes, sir, go right ahead, sir. Here you go. There's the power. Have it. Please, we're not going to fight you. We're not going to stop you or do anything. And so, I'm going to contrast you two New York Times headlines right now. The first one, in 4 swing states, GOP election deniers could oversee voting. So, in Arizona, Michigan, and Nevada and Pennsylvania, Republicans who have disputed the legitimacy of the 2020 presidential election and who could affect the outcome of the next one are on a path towards winning decisive control over how elections are run in several battleground states. So, like, there are people like up here who are all running for different, whether it's attorney general or senate or governor, they're all running for different things as Republicans, and they all proudly deny the 2020 election results. What do you think they would do if given the opportunity for Republicans to get in? So, that's the Republican plan. They hate you. What are Democrats doing? They're failing you. Here's another New York Times headline. Democrats' risky bet. Aid GOP extremists in the spring, hoping to beat them in the fall. As Democratic leaders warn loudly of right-wing threats to democracy, their campaign arms are meddling in Republican primaries, betting they can help pick easier opponents in November. This includes in states, like, I need to find the part of this article that does this, but I read this before, and this includes in states that are these swing states, where there are GOP election deniers. So the Democrat strategy is to gamble with fire and go, let's put our attention, let's put some effort into some of the wildest, wackiest people on the conservative side, the Republican side, because we can definitely beat them in November. There's no way the Democrats can't there's no way they can possibly lose against a candidate this crazy. Hillary's gonna win. There's no way Trump can win. Trump is crazy. Hillary is qualified. Hillary has all this. Oh, what are the results? So I'm skeptical of this theory, but I want to know what you think, what y'all think top level, before I go into more details.
Worst idea ever. Unbelievably bad.
Who's worse, them or Alex Jones' lawyers? Who's stupider?
Like, honestly, when I heard this, I'm like, I don't know like how broad this scheme is, but anybody like coming to the fore with this idea, like they just are so out of touch with what's going on in the real world. Like in the real world, the people on that side, there is no level of crazy that they won't tolerate. There's no level of like non-reality that they're not down for. You can't tell them what's true or not when they're already convinced that you are a demon baby killer. Like it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, just the person, the most extreme person has the better shot. Like the most extreme person that's like running for the Republican primary is for sure. I mean, maybe not the most extreme. Like probably there's some person like what's the guy's name? Ron Watkins, who's like polling 1%, who's like a big Trump supporter. But let's say, in Wisconsin or something like that, like probably the most extreme Republican is gonna be the biggest Trump supporter who's gonna end up getting Trump's endorsement, and that's smooth sailing, kind of for the most part. Such a bad idea, and just somebody who just doesn't really know the conspiracy world. They don't know what's going on with these voters now. These people that are voting, like they don't know. They didn't realize what happened when the conspiracy theory people became voters. Like there was a point where the conspiracy people were apathetic to politics. They just hated everybody. But now the conspiracy people, which is a lot of America, they are voters now. So when they hear the person saying the conspiracy stuff, they're like, that's my guy. Whereas you, Democratic Party consultant is like, oh no, that's too crazy. No, dude, that's too crazy for you. But that person, that's red meat, not lab engineered meat.
Not that impossible. Representative Peter Major, Republican of Michigan, was especially incensed that the Democrats' House Majority PAC had spent nearly $40,000 in the Bakersfield and Fresno, California media markets, airing an advertisement castigating David Valadao, who's a far right-wing candidate. A kind of far right-wing candidate for his impeachment vote, while promoting his other opponent as a true conservative. Here's that ad here. Basically, it's saying that Chris Mathis is 100% pro-Trump, whereas Valadao is like not the real Republican. He's impeached Trump. This is a really interesting ad. Just one problem: it's paid for by Democrats, and so they think the outcome is that, okay, we're going to pick an easier candidate to run against, because if we have someone who's more moderate on the issues, they might actually win. Which maybe that might be true in some, maybe it might be true in some, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here, and I'll say that maybe it might be true in some district like California, or Bakersfield, Fresno, where you have people who might be easily on the fence or something like that. I honestly doubt it as much as Bam does.
Don't
But
give them the benefit of the doubt. This person is wrong.
these people are wrong, yes. But I don't see in there any strategy, whether it's picking a loser or not. The Democratic Party does not have $40,000 to be blowing on a Republican's race. Okay? There are Democrats who need that $40,000 to hold on to their seats or to beat Republicans. The thing that's troubling is that this is about to happen in states like, this is not just happening like in California, because it's a California district, like whatever, but it's going to happen in swing states like Pennsylvania. And if the Democrats accidentally boost a Republican who then starts fighting against the election results, then they will have screwed themselves in a biblical way. Like a way that's off the charts.
Not themselves, screwed us.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, there's us too, but fuck us. We don't care. We don't matter. Ukraine. Bam, you got thoughts on that?
Ukraine?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's really bad, dude. I mean, man, I'm still keeping up with it. I guess let's start with the good.
Really fast. Before we go, about to go. I think C's and Sean, you both have to head out.
Yeah, it's past 8.
Oh yeah,
Need
for
to head
sure.
out.
All right. Well,
Caesar said he could stay till 8:30.
Dog. Not after what you did to me today on the show while I was talking.
Hey, man.
Well,
yeah, I gotta roll y'all, but take care. 2 years power report, 2 more to go. Then I renegotiate and get on C-SPAN.
C-SPAN, Jesus. Got a little bit more hope for you there.
All right,
damn,
y'all.
we
All
left.
right, gentlemen.
All right, Mr.
Sean,
Squad.
C's, thank you very much for being on the show. Appreciate you. And with that, I don't have the double box ready, Bam, so we're just gonna like switch between person and person.
It's fine with me. Just leave me off. I don't care.
No, we're gonna make you extra big. Got it. We got that ready. Look, there's your own camera, just like that for
Okay.
you.
Nice. But Ukraine. I was gonna say, let's start with the good news. The good news that there was a grain shipment that left the country recently and went to Lebanon, which I was like, oh, that's cool. Lebanon's going through it. They need some grains. So, one shipment of grains left after Russia and Ukraine were negotiating how that was going to go. And then they seemed like they agreed on something. And then like the next day, Russia bombed the port. And I was just like, oh my God, Russia is a very cynical actor. But recently a grain shipment did leave the country, and hopefully some more leave soon. On a sadder note, we saw not that long ago, there was a mall that was bombed. I wonder what the Glenn Greenwald and Aaron Mate types say about things like that. I would imagine they just blame Ukrainian soldiers for it. But there was a mall that was bombed. I forgot how many people were killed and injured, but that was terrible. We saw a video. I feel like that's happened since we talked about Ukraine. There was a bombing, and we saw like an image of it from like a park or something like that, like with like a lake. And that was pretty terrifying. It does seem like Kyiv and some of the other regions that are not under direct assault are operating pretty efficiently. I've heard that recently, but Ukraine is still under attack. There's still people dying. I did hear that, I don't know about Ukrainian soldiers, but I heard like 73,000 killed and wounded for Russian soldiers. That's insane.
These death numbers are really high. I haven't checked in on them lately, but
at first
a
they were
lot, I know.
saying killed. At first they were saying killed, but then it was like, no, it's killed and injured. I'm like, okay. But either way, but honestly, I'm not surprised. Russian soldiers are notoriously poorly trained. Going back to at least the war in Chechnya, where they were like begging in the streets in Grozny. But Ukraine is still being invaded. They're still having their territory, their sovereign territory taken. Unfortunately, there are a lot of tankies that consider themselves on the left, and they just don't care. Um, and for me, I'm looking at this the same way I looked at the war in Iraq. Like, that was terrible, and this is terrible too. Like, you don't want to see a country invading another country that is not, they're not doing it. The most that Ukraine is doing to Russia is what Iraq was doing to us. Like, that's the most they're doing. So they totally don't deserve it, and you know, I've had to listen to more, like I've had to like listen to MSNBC to really see more about what's going on there, because sadly a lot of the leftist media is not so concerned. And I feel like that's because it is Russia invading. If it was France invading, or if it was like the UK invading Ghana, I think a lot of people would care more. And probably people are caring more in Europe. Obviously, we've seen. I'm rambling. I apologize. Obviously, we've seen a lot of ramifications from this war. Like, Ukraine is a big exporter of goods. It has some of the most fertile land in the world, which is why Mr. Adolf Hitler wanted to colonize Ukraine. Um, the fact that those goods can't be exported from Ukraine is really affecting countries in Africa, the Middle East, even South Asia, you know? So countries are suffering other than Ukraine for this war. And I really hope that they're going to have to negotiate something. I don't think that Russia's going to take over the whole country like they wanted to. And they wanted to do that within the first like 3 weeks. That obviously didn't happen. Hopefully they can negotiate some kind of peace settlement soon. They're also talking about doing a draft in Russia, and I think that'll be bad. I don't think Putin will be able to stop those protests if they're talking about a draft. But yeah, it's just bad. And I hope that people just, there was a lot of people cared a lot in the beginning, but we got a 24-hour news cycle, and Ukraine is not a country that people care about generally. So I hope that people can like pay attention to it, because people are suffering over there.
Yeah, there's a lot that you said there that I want to get into. It's all really like important. And this is, yeah, we haven't covered it in a while. I'll say left media, it's hard to like put it in a box, so to speak. I think definitely there's a tendency for everyone in America to kind of focus more on domestic policy, especially in fog of war situations where like we barely trust the information that's coming out from the government when it comes to war. Like, so many on the left, I think, were jaded in the lead up to the war because the information was all coming from like the usual suspects who had lied to get us into the war in Iraq. But no, this ended up being very real. Putin's being very wild about it. And it's a situation where, unfortunately, there have been just horrendous, not just, there's the actions that are happening that are horrendous, which are largely Russian brutality against Ukrainians. But there's also this like coverage of it that you're getting at, where there's like this false equivalency of it on people doing left media by saying that like, oh, well, Russia's doing this, but did you know Ukraine's also doing this? And there's Ukrainian soldiers that are also like doing war crimes, stuff like that too, where like the whole power dynamic then gets forgotten. The aspect of what you're talking about, like, it's very important that you're getting, and like we're kind of talking about in chat as well, with food insecurity and how much grain comes from Russia and Ukraine, and how Russia purposely blockading that is causing negative ramifications throughout the entire world to try to get the world to react and respond. So it's absolutely cynical, absolutely blatant, like you said, like that right there. It's important that shows like Power Report, we keep talking about world news like this and bring attention to it. But also, like, real talk, I don't think that, like, listen, Bam and I, we've disagreed off air on kind of this point, but like, look, Zelensky, president of Ukraine, is in a position, right, where like he's got to defend his country and stand up for it and go on TV and put on his TV voice and be very dramatic and talk about like the dire situation. And it's worked very well. Like, NATO has dropped everything. They've done things they said they previously wouldn't have done. You have countries that are considering joining NATO. Turkey's even easing up to the idea of Sweden and Finland joining. there's been an absolute sea change. This has strategically not gone well for Putin. But the end game here for us, America being involved, all of us being involved, does not seem to be clear. And I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about. Is that, like, okay, every couple of months we send another double billion-dollar figure to Ukraine, and it's like a money pit. We send them weapons, we send them money, we send them arms, send them all this other stuff. Meanwhile, in Russia, you have the domestic situation. There's increasingly swirling rumors of Putin's health deteriorating rapidly. There's a lot of visual evidence to that as well. He is trying to fight a battle of legacy. I think a lot of the nuclear sort of fears have kind of calmed down, but that's still very much on the table. If it's going to be anyone that pushes the button, it's going to be North Korea, China, Russia, or the United States. Let's add the United States again to give it a 2 out of 5 chance that's the United States, all right?
For sure.
But what I'm saying is that it's another one of those cases where Power Report talks about world news. We address these world news situations, but world news, it's complicated. There are no clear, like, winners and losers in past. There is no clear way to say, look, Zelensky, Ukrainians are going to just have to keep dying because, like, America's not sending any money. That's a rough kind of, like, way to put it, but America's hurting domestically too. And it's going to be very difficult for Joe Biden to rhetorically make the case against a Republican who will make this case cynically, or any Democrat running against the Republican challenger, to make the case that money is being responsibly spent in Ukraine and responsibly being spent in the United States. Because whether it's true or not, and I don't necessarily agree with that statement, people are not feeling that in the United States, and prices are increasing. The right has already weaponized, oh, look, Biden is blaming Russia on high gas prices. But instead, look at all these permits that Biden could have approved, but he didn't. And that's why, permits, because once you have a permit made, you can start drilling instantly. And then all that drilling infrastructure and all that stuff immediately translates into lower gas prices. Sure, totally. Last point on gas prices, because I love it. God damn it, Joe Brandon. He made the gas prices high in England. And Germany and Spain, and God damn it, Joe Brandon, the gas prices are high in Canada. Like, damn,
they're higher.
Yeah, it's like, but that's what I'm saying. It's still helpful because at the end of the day, people are not very politically engaged. They're not thinking about, I guess Joe Brandon isn't the president of Canada. That's a fair point. They're going, everything costs more. I'm having to tighten my belt. Joe Brandon's president. That's a simple calculation, and one major blemish on that, because when people start to look at the figures and numbers, at one point the figure was 36 billion, then it became like 40 billion, then 70 billion. Like, this number of how much the United States alone is giving to NATO and Ukraine for these things, like, it's an important humanitarian effort. All of our hearts, like, go out to these people, but it's also going to have to be like a political impasse, so to speak, that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are going to have to reconcile for.
100%. And honestly, I'll be quite honest. I don't even know how you do it. It's going to be like, the way you do that is like so above the average American political understanding that, like, yeah, if Trump or DeSantis is like, you guys gave Ukraine all this money and we're suffering, your response is just like, your response to be like, we're fighting for the soul of democracy on the Eastern Front, like, you lost. So
they don't care about democracy here. They're like, well, wait, Putin's an autocratic ruler who wants things his way. Sounds great.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, let's really, the Republican Party are the party of, let's give the strong what they want, democracy be damned, because we believe we're the strong ones. And they're getting results. So
yes.
Let's keep telling the democracy lie so that our opponents keep playing that game while we steamroll them. But that's really the whole purpose of democracy for Republicans, is that it's a toy to tangle and a toy to dangle in front of Democrats.
For sure, until they can completely get rid of it. Yeah, me personally, like I can only speak for myself. When I'm looking at Ukraine, I'm not thinking about domestic politics. I'm thinking about the people. Like, when Russia invaded Ukraine, For me, I'm thinking about when America invaded Iraq. Like, it was devastating. It was terrible. Like, I was watching that footage. It was one of the like, I didn't have to go through it, but it was a terrible time. It was one of the worst things to like witness on the news. And gladly I wasn't there on the ground. I have the same feeling about Russia invading Ukraine. Like, it's terrible. They're invading a sovereign nation. Is innocent people are dying. Like, it's not, it's innocent people are being affected by this that have nothing to do with anything. So for me, I'm not thinking about like what's gonna happen in the primaries because of this. And I'm not saying like you shouldn't. I see where you're coming from too. And I do like, yeah, they just lose on that front, sadly. And it's hard to say, like, should America be sending this much money to Ukraine? It's hard, like you said, it's hard. But there is a part of me that's like, I don't want to see these people just getting slaughtered. Russian soldiers they ain't no saints, dude. Like, they're not just gonna come in and just be like, hey, can you just get out of the way? Like, no, they're gonna bomb apartment buildings and all kinds of stuff. I remember that war in Chechnya. I was young and I found out a lot about it after, but that war was devastating. Putin is ruthless. Like, that war was over. And then Putin, I think it's when he got elected, like when he got elected for the first time, the war was over and he just started it back up again, even more ruthless than it was. So I don't know. The Ukraine situation is bad. The Ukrainian fighting forces have been, successful in a lot of ways. They haven't rolled over, and I think they're a bit more professionally trained than the average Russian soldier. Um, but yeah, I hope the war ends. I am anti-war, and I am no tanky.
Yeah, I'm a real leftist. I'm against wars of all kinds. I don't want any imperialist projects to succeed, even if that like I don't want America's imperialist project to succeed. But I also don't want a situation to occur in which the like status quo is going to change the polarity of international relations, which is such a college-y statement to be saying this late at night. But what does it say is that American dominance on the world stage is going to end, is already over, arguably, but is going to end on its own.
We talked about that with the Venezuela Colombia thing that happened. We talked about that.
Yeah, just keep up on your power reports. We does this out here, right? But like, the American empire as a project is in its state of decay. It's not coming back. It's not getting better. We are doing this to ourselves, all right? China is next in line. They're going to be on the world stage. They're going to have a fun century or two, all right? It's going to be popping for them. There's nothing that, if you're in that tanky position, this like extreme group on the internet of people who I can't really even call them left, but like, yeah, they just like pro Xi Jinping, essentially. Like, I dislike America as well. I would very much like to see the downfall of many of the America's most oppressive institutions. That does not come by China or Russia engaging in a war with the United States. That only just means that those oppressive institutions get more oppressive during times of war, and if and when the United States falls, what replaces it is going to be more oppression for the people in America who stay and survive. Because it's not like, oh, we're going to... Do you really... I think maybe tankies have gotten ultimately lost in the sauce to think that we'll be greeted as liberators is actually a thing that ever happens.
Yeah, thank you. They think that if Russia like takes over America, like you go to the Russian soldier with flowers, they'll like be like, oh yeah, no, you're great.
This is Tanky. I love him. I see you online on Twitter.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, yeah, go break rocks, dude. Like, we need labor. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And I did see those people on my Twitter. It was very frustrating. And for me, it was just like, I don't know where you were. When I saw America invade Iraq, it was terrible. I saw the same exact thing with Russia invading Ukraine. There ain't nothing like noble about the Russian government. If anything, you can argue that it's less noble than the United States government. We got it a lot better here than people do in Russia. A lot better. So, like, why would you think Putin is doing something noble? Do you think that just because he came to the aid of Bashar Assad? Uh, you know what? I'm not going to say my thoughts on that. But, it doesn't mean like if he does something decent today, he's doing something decent tomorrow, if you think it's decent. But luckily, honestly, Dan, we can disagree on a lot of stuff. I don't care. But the fact that you're not a tanky, we're good. We're solid.
No, yeah. I am happy to the extent that there are constantly discourses and conversations happening on the internet. I'm happy that there is a space for a force of energy to always push conversations to where we are not even implicitly or accidentally centering American imperialism.
Yeah.
So I think it's very easy for people on the left to, like, well-meaning people, to fall into the trap of, well, but what China is doing is bad, and we do have to do something about it. Like we'll talk about the stuff going on in Hong Kong and how they are repressing dissident protesters. We'll talk about the Uyghur Muslim populations. And these are all very important things. And like where tankies start to deviate from me is they will start to minimize these things for whatever reason, or they'll start to say that aspects of these things are not true, or they're overblown, they're conspiracy theories. They'll try to paper over them. The part that I do like from tankies in this is kind of the lazy whataboutism, is the fact they go like, who is America to criticize a country for having internment camps? Who is America to criticize a country for meddling in other countries' elections? Who is America to criticize a country for attacking democracy? I totally get that. You just don't need to minimize the stuff they're actually doing in order to make that point. You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
I 100% agree. I don't give a damn what Joe Biden, Trump, Obama, Clinton, I don't care what they have to say about shit. I'm talking about like you, dude. Like not you. Like like what do you have to say? Joe Biden doesn't speak for me. Donald Trump, Obama, they don't speak for me as a person like me. When I'm saying America is the great Satan, if Putin got the chance though, he would be the great Satan too. Like I'm not going to say that about Xi Jinping. I'm not going to say that. Putin, Russia, like if they got the chance, he would be the great Satan just like America is. So there ain't nothing noble come out of there.
I'll say all of my friends who have left China and their families have left China more or less because of irreconcilable differences between the way they want to live their lives and the way that Xi Jinping is, would say that he would be the great Satan as well. And this isn't the whole thing. And this isn't the whole. And like, I don't want to speak that. I'm just saying that like people who have that lived experience would go as far as you're going. Not us, because we can't say that, but like they would. And then that also is to say like, there's also this thing like, oh, all the enemies and victims of communism are all like rich or landlords or whatever. I'm like, just, I need these tankies to stop having such a loving, like papered over vision and idea of like how implemented communism has worked in history. Like,
yeah,
I'm all for hoping for a solution to where things go better, but you can't hope for a solution to things go better while you're in denial about how things are right now. All the parties that call themselves communists and have called themselves communists in history end up turning themselves into capitalists, and then they turn up the exploitation to 100. They like America walked, and like chattel slavery walked. So the shit they got going on in China and North Korea and Russia to some extent could fly, could hum. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, honestly, and just to say, like, I don't think that, like, just to be, like it's like the walking and chewing gum. Like, I can be critical of America while enjoying the fruits of America's terribleness, and say for sure, like, if somebody's like, hey, you want to like live in America or you want to go like live in Moscow? I'm like, I'll stay here. Um, you know, like I'll live in South Central here, dude. Like wherever. Yeah, I'll stay here, dude. Like the tankies like it's just a level of cynicism for me, which is the thing I'm trying to fight against the most. To act like, yeah, because America's worse, like Russia's not that bad. And it's just like, no, dude, like, and and the part that like hurts me kinda is like, dude, like these people got like missiles falling, yo. Like that's just like I remember watching when they thought there was gonna be a coup in Turkey. That I don't know if you remember that a few years back. They thought there was gonna be a coup in Turkey. For some, I don't know what was going on, but there was like a fighter jet that flew like really low over a bridge, like really fast. The video of it was terrifying. And there was a fighter jet flying low over a bridge. The sound was like, oh my God. And the people that were like on the bridge were like holding their ears, like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? But to have like missiles, artillery, bombs going off where you like used to live. Like I lived there. Like now it's like part of it's gone. Like you can't just paper over that. The person that initiates that, they're bad.
Yeah. I don't get it. I really don't like it when you get these situations where I mean, it's just political performance, really. That's all it comes down to. It's people who are performing politics on the internet who go, if I hate America more online, I will get more retweets and more likes.
Exactly.
And like it's an easy button to push. Like I hate America 5 times for getting out of bed in the morning. All right, so like it's an easy button to push. I don't blame you, but like there's going back to my criticism of Nancy Pelosi. All right, there's a lack. You can make a point, and then pick at that point, and it lacks substance. Or you could make a point. You could make that same point, make that same argument, and argue with substance. And those are two different things. And we have to treat them differently in politics. It's very easy to say, oh, care about children? Did you worry about children being groomed? Well, let me tell you about gay people. Right? Like you can assume and you can keep going down like ladders and steps with someone with a political ideology who wants to scam you. And if you aren't smart enough to look out for those things and see them for like what they're literally coming for, you will be hoodwinked. You will be fooled to go and take it as face value and go like, oh, okay, no, what is being said to me is actually true. Like, yes, I don't like being the grooming of kids. I don't, I have a gay friend, but listen, if they're grooming kids, man, what are you gonna do? Like, I literally saw a video of I can't believe this was real, but it looked too pathetic to like be fake. A guy on Petco arguing that it was PetSmart because the very end of the day.
Oh, I saw that. Oh
yeah.
my God.
Because they had a pride flag, and so they were grooming kids. And at the end of the day, the guy had to tell them, by the way, this is a PetSmart, not a Petco. So take your grifting ass cell phone video out of here, dude.
Yeah, you're corny. Unbelievable. Well, believable.
Oh, that's totally believable. We started. Oh, so there's a good chat in here, and then I have one more segment, kind of like bringing Power Report all together. In the last couple of minutes here, then we'll definitely like cut it off by 9. Your boy's tired. But Left the Box says, I despise when polls go out showing Canada near the top of best places to live, and people share it and basically say, "We are great, no need to change," while ignoring how people with disabilities and Indigenous people have to live. That's a great point, Left the Box. And Sandy, you talk about that so eloquently on your show. I'm often telling people, I'm pointing people to your channel to say, like, no, this is what's really going on in Canada. This is the bigger picture. And I'm working on like a sort of travel documentary style video / minor pivot foreshadowing. About my trip to Europe, and in England there's a big push right now about awareness about disabilities and disability rights and things like that. And I think that people try to push that as their best foot forward, but there's so much that needs to be done. Like, okay, cool. Like, people will say, oh, wow, there's signs about it. Oh, wow, people are talking about it. This is really making an impact. This is really having a big deal on it. When in reality, that presence of that sign, or that presence of saying, hey, we've got someone working on this. Look at this advertisement with showing diversity of lived experience. We're doing better. In reality, that's the paper over some of the biggest crimes that are still happening. It's like when you see when you move to a neighborhood and you see that your new neighbors put up a sign that says, in this house we believe Black Lives Matter, all those other different things. Like, it's very performative, and oftentimes those houses, the signs with people who have those signs in front of their houses just moved into the neighborhood, and they're driving rents up for all the people who live there, all those marginalized groups who now can't afford to live there. It's okay. Out with the corner store and with the Whole Foods. Diversity in progress. Whole Foods in every block. So, a Whole Foods in every hood, so to speak. No. But, yeah, it's like greenwashing, too. That's another thing I have in an upcoming video. Like, you are claiming to do things for the environment, but in reality, what you're doing is this game where you are promising people more than what you're giving them.
Which is generally the case.
Yeah. Last thing, fun, monkeypox. No, not very fun at all. But it wouldn't be an episode of Power Report if I didn't discuss BAM entirely. So, there's LG says, did you say there was a push about disability or just pushing the diversity? What I was trying to say is that there's I think what like Left of the Box is saying is that like there's a push towards raising issues. Oh wait, no. That was no. In Canada, the specific issue is like people saying that Canada's a great place to live while ignoring the the many ways where Canadians are like marginalized, specifically Indigenous people or people with disabilities. I think the point I was making was more along the lines of what I was witnessing in England, where you'll have signs on the underground, the tube station, that say, be respectful for people who are like maybe walking slower or whatever, because maybe they have a harder time walking. So, like those signs out there are good. That's good to have that awareness. That doesn't replace like actually a society that provides services for people with disabilities. Like you can't just say, oh, there's a sign on the train to make sure that people don't push me over while I'm walking with my cane. That's good. I'm glad that sign exists. I still live in a country where my medicine's $10,000 per like need a prescription, right? Like you can't have. I mean, like you can have one and still like have the other like bad situation, but it's all that big picture of Band-Aid solutions versus what really helps. But yeah, I want to talk about monkeypox because we started Power Report unknowingly with it being a pandemic podcast.
Yeah, it was popping in China at that point, and like maybe a little bit in like Italy. In a little bit, it was all over the place.
Yeah, it was everywhere, and it just quickly took over the world. And you know, people say, you know, back during COVID as though like it was an over thing. Of course, it's not over. But people are usually referring to that time period where things were really locked down and we didn't know where we were going and that kind of thing. And so today, Joe Brandon announced a monkeypox like sort of state of emergency. This follows other states which have announced similar measures as kids have gotten infected. People have brought it from other countries. People have just like had it individually. There's a lot of horrible misinformation going around by people saying, oh, it's a disease that only spreads by gay people having sex or skin-to-skin contact, or it's a lot like an STD, when that's not true. STDs are spread through sex, monkeypox is not, and by confusing that very important point at a time when there's a major political party that is conflating the LGBTQ community and experience with you know, child grooming. They're trying to say that like this entire community, which exists and is just attaining visibility in the broad stage, is using that visibility to groom children. And then you have a disease going around that you're hearing murmurs of, oh, this is a sexually transmitted disease that gay men and bisexual men are giving to each other. And then you see stories that kids are getting it. And so some people are putting 2 and 2 together going, oh no, yes. People are putting, that's what is happening in American society right now. It's a perfect storm of disaster. Because, yeah, people believing that gay people are engaging in statutory sexual violence with minors, and you can have proof of it because that's how else are minors getting monkeypox? It's a gay disease. It's reminiscent of when the CDC said masks don't work. Don't try to buy up masks. There was like 1 month where they were literally telling people not to buy masks.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that broke a lot of people's trust in the CDC.
Yeah, for sure.
Not rightfully, but like it's. I was saying back then that like science evolves over time, and so as people start to learn, as we get more data, the scientific recommendations are going to change, and you kind of have to build that in and accept that as just like a factor of science of how it works. But in this case, we've already been through COVID. We're not going to be able to do lockdowns again because people are too sick of that, and people are going to be kind of cautiously going out. No one wants to. For people who have comorbidities or people who have to watch out for COVID because of conditions that can make themselves susceptible to, this is just something they've had to deal with, like watching about exposure and things like that. So I have like former coworkers, friends, folks watching in the stream who are very aware of these kinds of struggles and things like that. But that is fighting against a culture that's like, listen, we need the economy going. People are losing jobs. People need to go out and have fun and enjoy things as much as possible and almost live in this parallel universe of ignoring this stuff happening. And I worry that in a country that is now doesn't listen to health advice from the government, doesn't like vaccines recommended by the government, that has been told a disease mostly spreads through skin-to-skin contact with people who engage in gay activities. And kids are also getting this disease, and we're also being told that gay people are grooming kids. It seems like an additional, there's like a gumbo of American like disaster that's happening right now that I feel like is going to be ready in like a nice stew in 2024. But this is some like stuff that they threw into this gumbo that was like, whoa, I didn't know you were throwing all them spices in there. This is a doozy. So, do you think this is the thing that's gonna make America pop?
I don't. I don't think it is. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's gonna be like. I see where you're going with like the whole groomer stuff, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if that thing is gonna. I don't know if that notion is gonna last for real. For real, I question it.
I don't know if it'll hold steam, but like. It doesn't need to last. Like, if someone believes this and has a gun,
well, yeah, somebody can get hurt.
Yeah,
no, yeah,
and like
right.
that's true. Like, someone does believe this, and a lot of people believe this, and a lot of those people have guns.
You're right. Yeah, there could end up being some violence from this for sure. I mean, it's America. Somebody's
but to that point, I meant to point that as kind of like this is a data point, but I don't mean to say that it's gonna be a major thing. I don't mean to overstate that aspect of them tying groomers to monkeypox. What I really mean to talk about is like, god damn, we just can't seem to catch a break. We've gotten like fucking 6 versions of COVID now. And now we have monkeypox. There's like other little diseases here and there that are floating around. Like, we're hurting, dog.
There are. I don't know a whole lot of information about the monkeypox situation. But there are vaccines being administered. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know like the efficacy, and I don't know like how widespread they are, or like. Are they new or old vaccines? I don't really know too much information about it. But I'll say this. if there are vaccines available, if this is something that's going to happen in that community, I feel like it's a community that's like a bit smarter than the general community, like the general public. They'll take it a bit more serious in the LGBTQ community. You know what I mean? Like it'll be taken a bit more serious, and hopefully that can make it go away faster.
Yeah, I think. Listen, America won again. This is an every man, woman, person for yourself kind of situation again, where
Society.
yeah, society, yes, especially in America, where we've decided that individual liberty and individual responsibility means avoiding the dangers that life has to offer you at all costs, because the government's not going to do anything to protect you from those dangers, because
Go Reagan.
that would inflict on someone else's freedom. Someone else's freedom to give you a deadly virus impedes your freedom to avoid the deadly virus.
Yes.
Because life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is kind of it's a thing we sort of play around with for political purposes. Yeah, as LG is saying in chat, like there's a lot of vaccine limitations. It's gonna take a while to get these out there. Like, fuck, it took so long just to get COVID vaccines around. Of course, you have to develop a new vaccine for that, but distributing the vaccine takes a long time.
And I feel like I saw something, and maybe LG can answer this for me too. I feel like I saw something about the monkeypox vaccine being similar to the smallpox vaccine, or something like that. But I don't remember. Honestly, I haven't paid as much attention to it as I should.
Yeah, I heard something similar too. I'm not about to spread misinformation about it on here. LG confirms that it is. I'm not
I
like,
believe,
yeah,
I believe her. Like that's it. It's confirmed.
yeah. There we go. We have it here first. Yeah, the vaccine they use treats both, so that's good. That can hopefully mean some positive things on the supply side, but ultimately, you're gonna have a bunch of people who just decide, I'm not taking no monkeypox vaccine. Because
I remember when George Bush was trying to make the smallpox vaccine mandatory when there was some anthrax scares. I'm sorry, an anthrax vaccine or something like that. Anyway, there will be some people that say that they're not going to take no stinking vaccine. They probably already have a smallpox vaccine. I think we take those when we're young, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, there's a bunch of this shit. Like, if you just want to go to a public school, like, you have to take these vaccines.
Yeah. But I'm just like honestly, there's a part of me that's like just kind of putting the blinders a little bit too. It's like, let's just hope it doesn't get to that point, because yes, we have been through a lot. I'm hoping to have Omicron boosters in the fall, dude. Like, what's the deal? If the monkeypox vaccine is over here at the CVS, I will take that too.
Whatever's available.
Yeah, just stick me wherever, dude. Yes, let's take it.
Pause.
Now we're done. Now we're done.
Now we're done. No, that's great timing. Super last thing, and I'm glad that we're kind of ending that on here. This is just the last question. What do you want Bam to do with the show? Should we quit? Just call it 50? Should we call it even? It's like leave on a high note right here. You know what, man? All good things have to come to an end. And no. We've talked about some of our like I won't say sinister, but I guess like more devious plans that we'll keep as secrets for now, because you gotta just let them happen and then let them happen. But we have plans for the show. We have aspirations for the show. We want to just like not just be a thing that people consume and watch, and not just like a community, because every show wants to be a community and things like that. But I think, to answer kind of my answer to this of like what we want to do from episode 50 and beyond, is to really help people make that next step off of just being engaged political consumers who may contribute to campaigns here or there, maybe have gone to a DSA meeting, have been revolted by the lack of diversity. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. Or they like have just like dipped their toes in activism to get them to flex that muscle a little bit more. And in addition to like, broadening their perspective around the world, making it kind of, tanky balanced, so to speak, all those other different things. But
and a racial balance.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am really passionate with the show, like taking it forward, like just pushing what you can do with a show in order to build an audience to do really cool things in activism. Um but Bam, what are your kind of goals?
I mean, I feel like what you've done so far is really good. I feel like you've gotten good guests and things like that. Um, I do like I do like it's like not I do like that you're not really doing like interviews as much as like having people that are experts in their like they know what they're talking about, coming here and talking about things that they know a lot about. Um, so I like the
As
show
opposed,
how it is.
sorry, as opposed to an interview, like what like do you mean like having someone just like talk back and forth for an 8 minute segment on CNN, right? Like,
Yeah, or just like or just having somebody, oh, you're cool. I want to talk to you about like your life or whatever.
right, yeah.
I think there's something for people to learn on any Power Report episode. I feel like for me, it's just like you're someone who's intelligent and you pay attention to politics. I am okay and like pay attention to politics and different things. I think like we both have different perspectives. I'm a little bit older than you, so like there's some things that like come to my mind more like maybe before you, and you have things that come to your mind before they would come to my mind. Caesar is like low key watches things that I have that I don't. So I think we have a good balance in that regard. I think you do a great job as like a producer and someone who puts the show together. It would take me a while to think about like what to add. Honestly, like I'm just kind of rambling here, but if I'm thinking about like what to add going forward, I don't really know. I feel like the stuff I watch is pretty much like this. Like they're not doing too much. If they were doing a lot, I probably wouldn't like it. So it's just talking heads.
Uh,
Honestly, I feel like it's a good question to ask people that watch Power Report or listen to Power Report. Like, what would they like to see?
yeah, that's totally for sure. Yeah, and I'll ask that in Twitter and chat as well. Like, yeah, for you for the next like maybe minute. I mean, like I'm probably gonna end the stream in like a minute and a half, real talk. But like, on Twitter at Dan from the Web, on future streams, that's what I'm gonna be doing, asking what people want to see, not just that day, but in general. I'll say, Bam, like why I like having you and Caesar and Sean and Yasmin and all the other like regular contributors to the show, as well as like my friends who have come on just like once or twice. Um, I love talking to my friends about politics. It's a good way to feel in touch with the world because there's so many aspects where it's like don't focus on how bad things are going, do your job, or don't focus on how world like what's going on in the world or how things are falling apart right now because it's sad and your job's supposed to be happy. Like I like just focusing on it, not because I like being sad or like worrying about the world, but I like being in touch with the I like being in touch with what's actually going on. And so I appreciate that aspect of it. And I appreciate that you keep a lens towards world news and what's happening beyond that. And you do very well. Like, it's difficult, like, doing all this producing and editing the video and then, like, live streaming it and then watching my computer die and resetting it on live stream and all of this stuff while hosting and getting together cohesive thoughts. I don't do any one of these things perfect all the time. But that's like why it's great to have friends and folks who can come and pick in. And I can say, hey, Bam, barely paid attention to the January 6th hearings. And you can give me some notes so I can run with it. Or like, hey, haven't been paying much attention to Ukraine or something going on in the Middle East. And you are there and can teach me. Like, it's not I don't have a lot of friends who I trust to be able to like come onto a show with me and teach me and my audience things. And like, I'm not like I've been trying to find you like a moment where you slip up, but like there hasn't been a moment, Bam, where like you like disappoint in the caliber and the knowledge that you bring to the show when I called upon you. So I appreciate that.
You're giving me compliments. I don't like it.
Of course.
This is like sliding into like compliments. I'm uncomfortable.
That's around the time we're on the stream. That's around the time we'll call the stream.
Okay, but let me just say this really fast. If there's anybody still here, the next Free Discussion Society topic is what is the role of art in the movements for social justice? That will be next week, August 11th, 7 p.m. via Zoom. If you want to find me, Free Discussion Society on Instagram. And if you have any questions, just holler. Would love to have everybody. What is the role of art in the movements for social justice?
I love that. Free Discussion Society is definitely a less stressful environment than like a live stream public on the internet. People kind of like talk about their thoughts on different topics. I like the way you lead it. I like the way you facilitate it. So definitely check that out. freediscussionsociety.com. I know you don't lead it. I know you don't lead it. Whatever. But yes.
Sounding like compliments. I don't like it.
I would like to experiment with the format on the stream at some point, but I know that's like your thing you do. So I will leave that decision up to you. But that window is always open.
That'd be tough, but all right.
Yeah. No, I think it would be perfect for stream. I think it'd be a really cool thing. Anyways, definitely check that out. Check me out. You know where to follow me. I appreciate everyone in stream, Left in the Box, LG, for staying through the whole 3 hours and watching. Appreciate all the real ones out there. All the stuff I've been doing over the past month especially has been growing a lot. It's going to continue growing and going to get to a really good point in this dystopian November election cycle, because there's going to be a lot going on, but we will have each other to go through it together. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, also shout out Tomamundo as well. Shout out to all the YouTube viewers. There were a lot of people who we lost when we dipped in the stream because of the power surge, but appreciate you all out there. Appreciate you. And cheers.
All right, guys.